You are on the Six Screens Telenetwork, the go-to site for your infinite source of precise, reliable, and factual material exposing the Watchtower organization.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to our program tonight, After the Storm, with Gail. She's a former Jehovah's Witness out of Houston, Texas. And boy, we're so glad to have her part of our team here. She's doing a really good job. And the last YouTube you did, Gail, with the finances, that got a lot of clicks. People like that. So
Wow.
what are you going to be talking about tonight?
I'll probably just spend the first 10 minutes on something else that I found. I didn't want to get into it again, but probably more audience participation. So,
All right. Well, I'm
mhm.
here, and you
Okay.
just let me know when you want that screenshot up. And I'm
Okay.
here, so I'm just gonna slip out and get a quick glass of water and come right back in again. All
Sounds
right.
good.
I'm gonna just stop the cam, and you got it. I'm here if you need me.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here at After the Storm. One second. After the Storm, it's been a lively evening, a lot of audience participation, and we just may keep that going. I loved hearing all your comments. And so thank you for being here again. It's been a couple weeks. Um, on our last show, we talked about not so much the finances of Watchtower, but more like their tax structure. And I did find one other little thing that I'm going to share tonight, but I didn't want to get into that in that deep again. But yeah, but I usually don't look at the comments of the videos, but this time I did. Usually there aren't any. And so I went back to the video that Rick was talking about from last week, and there were a bunch of comments. So thank you for the love, everybody. It felt really good. And I've responded to the comments. I've responded. I don't want you to think I didn't see it. I just didn't know they were there. So yeah, that was amazing. Lot of deep information tonight, and I know what we talked about a lot of you already knew, and that's why you could participate and help me out with the information. But I appreciate you sticking with me and bearing with me through it, because you never know, there may be somebody on the line who's hearing that information for the very first time. And if you got nothing else out of the show, it's that basically we were bamboozled. But so let's see. Yeah, it was just great hearing from all the critical thinkers tonight. So are you able to see my screen? I don't know what screen you're seeing. You're seeing this screen. Okay, so let me move the, yeah, okay.
Do you want it up there now?
Yes, please. Thank you, Rick. Okay.
Well,
So
Gail,
if you, hi.
this is Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
I see you right on my television. Okay.
How are you tonight?
Program.
Say that again, please.
Well, with Rick for many years,
Uh-huh.
and so I'm just like brand new to this.
Oh,
Yes. Fill me in.
welcome.
So you're in Houston?
Yes, I'm in Houston.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in South Carolina.
South Carolina. Yeah. We were on the phone. Rick just went live on YouTube with a few of the other shows, maybe earlier in March, but we had been on since last March. And then we went on YouTube. We joined the YouTube family back in March of this year. So a lot of people really don't know who I am. And I'm not, one of the popular activists anyway. So.
Well, don't undersell yourself.
I appreciate that, Nancy. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Gail. This is
Yes.
the guy.
Hi, Gus. How are you?
I am okay. I wanted to, if you look on open court, opencorporates.com.
Okay.
Type in Jehovah's Witnesses. You get various congregation information and names of elders under officers. That's something you might want to look into.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. So did you see the show last week when we were talking about the Form 990 and their tax exempt status, and tax exempt organizations have a governing body? Did you see that show?
I don't think I did, but I did see a video, something similar to that.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is just a follow-up. What I found here, what I have on the screen is from irs.gov, and it's a list of, you can Google it, and it'll bring up a list of exempt organizations, right? And so you scroll here and you can search by state. So I found this, and you download it as a CSV file. So I went to New York, and it downloaded the file for me. And so what you do from here now is you pull up your, it'll download into Excel, and Excel has a find feature. So I typed in Watchtower, and of course, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York came up. And this is a list of nonprofit organizations in each state. So as you can see, the data that you're looking at here, if you scroll across, other nonprofit organizations actually report their revenue and expenses, but not this one. Not Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York. How many of you have heard of Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Florida?
I'm just hearing about that now, and I think I know a name of one of those people.
I've never heard of that. Last week we talked about the Watchtower and Bible and Tract Society Republic of North Korea. Was it North Korea? Yeah. There's another Watchtower here, God's Watchtower of Prayer. I don't know, but we know that Watchtower is often split up into two words anyway, right? So let's do a search on Watchtower, two words, and that comes up, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. Again, if you scroll across, so let's highlight the line. If you scroll across, there is no data. And this data is pretty current as of 2021 tax filings. This data is current because, let's just say, of the work I do. So the reason I found this is I had to do research on one of the nonprofits that I work with, and I had to look something up, and I was like, oh, interesting. So here it is, no finances reported. So that was just interesting to me. Huh? Go ahead, please.
Sorry. Kim Brooks, as in Mike and Kim, they have videos about Kingdom Hall sell-offs, and they have the charts to detail the Kingdom Hall addresses and how much they got sold for in all the other countries.
Yeah. But this was disturbing. This was not disturbing. I don't find anything about Watchtower surprising anymore anyway, but for a nonprofit organization that I think they were created in 1919 or something, their finances must have snowballed so much that they have to open these other companies. I don't know if you call them shell companies or whatever. Like I said, I didn't want to get too deep into it tonight, like we did last week.
Question,
uh, Go ahead.
Maybe I'm unclear on this. They, for as long as I've been aware of them, now my mother
converted in the 50s,
Okay.
and I am almost 70 years old. So I have a long history with the Watchtower.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born in Philadelphia. So we were among probably the, I'm not going to say first, but very early in the organizational structure.
Okay.
So if they go by an incorporation, what is the difference between incorporated and corporation?
They are, let me see, let me look and see. They are a nonprofit. Yeah, somebody was saying last week that they are incorporated, but the information I'm seeing here is their tax status is nonprofit.
Correct.
But incorporated and corporation are the same. It's just how they file their taxes.
Catchy than the other. I'm just saying. I thought that incorporated gave them more leeway.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I'm not sure. If they're set up as a corporation, that's why they need this legal structure to report the revenues and expenses and the nonprofit activities or what have you, to be able to buy real estate, purchase kingdom halls and everything.
Yeah. Now, and that was one other thing that I'm trying to catch up. So, and I don't want to interfere with your program, but
That's okay.
they have been selling off kingdom halls out to Yang Yang, which is odd to me because remember back when it used to be that each congregation held that property and they paid taxes, right?
I'm not aware of the congregation paying taxes, but go ahead.
Back in the day,
Okay.
the elders, the congregation literally owned the property.
Yeah.
And Rick could back me up on this, but then there was something that changed, and the Bethel, or the governing body, took over the mortgages.
Yeah.
I think it was in the 80s or early 90s.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I didn't want to interfere, but there's some different history that I recall that is different, is a little different.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I knew of a ministerial servant that woke up because of that very same thing. Their Kingdom Hall was almost paid off. Watchtower took it over, and they had to send a set amount of money to headquarters every month.
Exactly. They really switched that. They shyster. They very much took advantage of people. Yes.
Yeah. They
Okay.
also started Kingdom Hall funds. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in my area, there was a Kingdom Hall fund started. They collected $385,000, and then one day a resolution was read to the Kingdom Hall, voting on sending all that money to Watchtower. And of course, everybody raised their hands and nobody disagreed.
Nope. Everybody just automatically
They
did,
just,
myself included.
yeah.
We didn't know. We didn't understand the language that they were giving. But, and you're right, Mike and Kim have been very helpful in alerting Jehovah's Witnesses to what those elders' letters were leaving out. You know, because there was stuff that was instructed, elders don't read this part to the congregation.
Yeah. Isn't it? That's very shady for an organization that claims to be the truth, the one only true religion. We're critical thinkers now. We're awake. We know, and so that's why, if we're repeating information, just like go along with it, if you will, because like I said earlier, there may be somebody that's hearing this for the very first time, and it's what they need to put the puzzle pieces together, put the dots together to say, hey, something's not quite right here, or I knew something wasn't right. Especially if you're a ministerial servant and you handle the funds or what have you. I just don't understand how people can see that something is wrong and just continue to go along with it. Like if you've read the Shepherd the Flock of God book, I read I read through some of it, right? But I was like, you become an elder, you get that book. How do you remain being an elder after reading what's in there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't know, elusively, I don't know. I have my story is horrific. What they did to me, but they did everything to destroy my family. And they have no. If it takes a very crooked person. Now, you asked a very good question, Gail. With regard to how could they look at that and not be concerned? Well, let me tell you, if they had a conscience at all, they would deny it. They would say, "Oh, this is wrong on so many levels."
Yeah.
But we have people looking for power. We see it
Mhm.
every day. You know what
So
I'm
you
saying?
think they got a taste of that power and they can't let it go?
Correct.
That makes sense. That makes sense. How
And,
how much of your story are you Go ahead.
I wondered
Sure.
about this earlier because I saw them. Women have no power, and it was brought up earlier that women are disgraced. We don't. We can't even if there is a problem, we can't go into the back room alone. Our husband has to be there.
Mm.
As in, if our husband commits fornication,
Are you there, Nancy? Nancy, you cut out on us. We can't hear you. Nancy? Oh no. Nancy?
Yeah,
Oh.
hold
Oh,
on.
this is the show. Okay, the phone line. Okay.
The phone call gets a little cut off here,
Yeah.
so you have to
Okay.
turn back in and get the recording. Yeah, and you missed. That's actually her name is Mia T, and
Oh, that wasn't Nancy?
it sounds like Nancy, but her name is Mia T. She goes by. Yep.
Oh, okay.
All right. So there was a lot of confusion in there, so that's what she goes by, Mia T. So she'll be right back on
Welcome
with
into the
us.
live six screen.
Yeah, okay.
But this is good, Gail. Getting people listening in, people commenting. We're looking here. You're doing great. So let's give it a few seconds here. We'll get this back up for you.
Yeah.
Sorry that happened.
I'd love to hear her story. No, that's fine. No, I'd love to hear her story if she's open to telling it.
Yeah, she'll.
Mhm.
We hope you enjoy the program.
She used to live up in my neck of the woods here. She's from Massachusetts originally. Yeah, I knew when she was a young girl. Yeah.
Press star now. Otherwise, please wait. Please enter your. Thank you.
Well, there you go. So,
16 participants in the conference.
all right, you ready to go?
All right, we are back. I'm sorry about that. We got cut off. I was speaking to. Was that Nancy speaking?
Actually,
or Mia?
her name is actually Mia T.
Mia.
Mia
Okay.
T. Yep.
Okay. Mia, are you still here with us? Okay. We got the phone
Yeah,
lines got
maybe
cut
it was
off.
the topic. I'm sorry. I
No, no,
apologize.
you're not. No, no. We got cut off when you were saying that when husbands commit adultery and then the phone lines cut out, they get to go in there alone. Is that where you were headed with this?
Yeah, I know. That's one thing about Jehovah's Witnesses that I find very different from other churches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the whole investigative process.
when I
Yeah.
was brought up, any time that something judicial, my husband had to be there.
Hmm.
I just find that odd, and I mean, I don't want to interrupt with what your program is about.
Well, this was basically it. I just wanted to share this little piece of information, and that there really isn't much information being shared with the company as there are from, some of the other companies listed. Their information is listed, but I think we found four watchtowers: uh, Society of Pennsylvania, New York, Florida, and I forgot what the fourth one is, but there's really no information. So apparently their 990s are not open to public inspection. And when a nonprofit organization gets that big, more than likely they have to open other organizations to kind of keep the money balanced, if you will, especially if I know they're in investing. They have an investment portfolio, a large one, okay? But if you have your money in the bank and the bank is only insured up to $250,000, then you have to open these other little entities, and we're slowly finding some of them. But I call them ministry mafia. And if you've ever watched a mafia movie, if you've ever, it's not funny, but if you've ever watched a mafia movie and you have the kingpin or whatever, and he has everybody, following him around, or
Father,
doing the Godfather doing his dirty work or whatever. And if any of them snitch on him, or even if a family member, I used to watch mafia movies, but then I couldn't stomach it anymore because they can just turn around and kill someone that they just kissed on the forehead. It's nothing to them. So, like, what I see coming for Watchtower is whoever is controlling them. I see i see a flip coming, really, is what I see, like a flip coming against Watchtower. So whereas they seem to be untouchable, protected right now, they're going to be thrown to the wolves. Like, there's not going to be any protection from them, from whoever is pulling those puppet strings. That's what I because
Nell.
that's what the mafia does when somebody starts getting sloppy. You didn't know you were being taped, you didn't know you were being followed. So when somebody starts getting
United Nations.
sloppy, they have to off you, right? And so I feel there's a level of protection that they have enjoyed all these years. I think there's a level of protection that Watchtower has enjoyed because, as you heard in tonight's program, like they're not being called to the carpet. Yes, they have paid out some money, but they have not been called to the carpet on a lot of things. Like, how does that keep happening, right? So they're getting sloppy. Either they are losing control of their members, like um, the dissension that we see happening right now. Somebody's asking them, why haven't you put a stop to this? And so they go harder on speaking out against apostates, right? And that doesn't work. It makes it worse. And the powers that be is like, push the button, apply pressure or whatever. And it's not working. The people are responding and leaving, but the people in power are like, you can't handle this job anymore. Anybody follow what I'm saying? You can't handle this job anymore. We're going to take over or whatever. And I heard a lot of clips this week from, if you know, I don't know the guy's name. I think his name is Jeremy. And if you're on Instagram, his Instagram is Iconic Podcast. And he speaks on the United Nations and the World Economic Forum and the New World Order a lot. He speaks on that topic. And matter of fact, there was a concert. There was a United Nations concert with some kids singing. Now that's what I should have had up. With some kids singing about the New World Order. And I swear it sounded like a JW original song. And they looked like JWs as well. Um, if somebody wants to say something, I can try to bring it up real quick, but it was,
Um,
we still sharing. Go ahead, please.
did you notice? I think it was about 3 years ago during a convention that one of the songs sounded like it came straight out of Jurassic Park.
Mm. I can't stomach listening to any of them, but if it was the year with the bunker, was it a bunker song or something?
Uh, it was during that convention, but it was during one of the dramas. So, because I'm just gonna, my mother was a pianist, and she was part of the early songbook, the brown one. So long time ago. But anyway, she helped write some of that music.
Oh, did she?
Convention occurred, and I listened to that, and I'm like, because I'm just saying that I've got a sharp ear for the music. That's very bring up a good point of Jehovah's Witnesses and how their music. Where does it come from? Who's writing it?
Mm-hmm.
They're stealing it at this point.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
To me, a lot of it is corny. Go ahead, please.
Another thing I wanted to bring out is how Watchtower still rents arenas and public buildings for smaller assemblies and stuff. They sold one of their own in Alabama, and if you set up a protest at a smaller assembly hall nearby, not close to, but a public rented place, the chances are whoever owns the building, not a JW, may ask them to not book a reservation anymore. That is a money loss for them.
Wow. It sure is. So they sold the assembly hall in an assembly hall in Alabama?
That's correct. That's what I heard. Bessemer, Alabama. Now it's like one of Christendom's buildings now.
It seems like the sell-off is happening, to be quite honest, it's happening in smaller towns, smaller counties. It's not happening in big cities like Houston, where I am. I just don't see a lot of sell-off here. But I found the video. Let's see. I want to make sure it's being shared. I found the video, and I'm going to have to unplug, right? Can you hear that? Can somebody confirm if you're hearing this?
I'm listening.
You can hear it?
I can hear you, Gail.
Can you hear the song, though?
Yes. Well, I've got you on telephone.
You can hear because you're on the telephone? Because usually I have to unplug from the phone.
Okay.
So let's just it's only like a minute.
There is a delay, which that's normal. But I'll tell you, here in Greenville, we had 3 Kingdom halls get sold, and they're all turned into like Masonic or other kind of religious buildings. They don't care.
Yeah, that's very common.
We thought that was interesting that Okay, when they
Hey, Mia, this
build
is
it, when they build the Kingdom
Mia,
Hall, they dedicate it to Jehovah.
Mia.
What do they do when they sell it?
Good question.
Mia T, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, what to do is just slow down a little bit now. Gail's trying to get through some of this information that she's prepared. So kind of hang in a little bit and let Gail get through some of this, and then you can kind of open up and talk to her a little bit. But she has, they have a program all prepared, and they want to be able to, get their message out. So hang in there, okay? Just hang in, and then when she's ready to open up the line, she can do that. So just kind of sit back and relax, okay?
Okay, I apologize.
Hello?
Gail, this is. Can you hear me, Gail? Not sure why, Gail. Can you hear me, Gail?
Yeah, I can hear now. I couldn't hear you guys for a second.
Through your headphones or what? But can you hear me now? So,
Yes.
I see you got some things that you want to. You want to put that up when you're streaming or what?
Yeah,
All
is
right.
it on the screen? Is it on the screen?
It's not on the screen, but I can put it on the screen. Yep.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so I want you guys, how I got to this point was I was talking about, the mafia turning on its own or whatever, and it seems like the message is being taken over because it sounds so much familiar to what we came out of, right? And so this guy, Jeremy with the Iconic podcast, he talks about the World Economic Forum and the New World Order and the United Nations a lot. And there was a concert recently, and these kids were singing about the New World Order. I was just saying how it sounded like a JW original song, and they sound and look like JW's. Take a look, and then we can discuss it. Oh, come on.
In concert.
Around the world, we're closing borders. COVID-19's on the rise. A new order behind closed doors. The storm will pass, we will survive. Around the world, we're closing borders. COVID-19 on the rise. A new world order.
It's familiar.
Behind closed doors, the storm will pass, we will survive. We will rise again. Our world will rise again.
Wow. What did you guys think about that? Besides being triggered, what did you guys think about that?
This is suspicious.
It sounds suspicious, you said?
Yeah, it does sound suspicious. It does look suspicious.
Exactly.
I would like to talk with you later on about other stuff too.
Gail, I'm going to step in here. Are you having a hard time hearing, listening to what's going on here?
No, I can hear.
Oh, can you? Okay. Sometimes I think the headphones might, because you really don't need headphones. You really don't need headphones coming on here on this StreamYard. It might be. I mean, why do you wear those? I'm just curious.
Because I can hear better.
Oh, can you?
When I'm playing the YouTube or playing audio, that's when I have to take it off. I can hear better.
Well, we can hear you better. We can hear you better when you're not on them. I'm not. I'm just here at the control panel and I can hear these things.
Okay.
So yeah, just stay off them for now if you can, unless you're having a problem. Okay.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see get some comments here. What did you think about that song?
Well, the song is very much reminiscent of the Witness songs. It sounds a lot like them. I think they're using the same marketing company. That's what I see. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like they're taking over the messaging, right? Because is Watchtower getting sloppy? Are they getting sloppy? They can't control their people. They have the United Nations has to take over the messaging about a new world order, sustainability. You'll own nothing and be happy. Is that what's going on here? I don't know. Do we still
Yeah,
have?
that is a suspicious thing,
Hmm.
a suspicious connection.
Yeah. And we thought we were so special because we knew, from the Revelation book, the role that the United Nations would be playing. But that wasn't any divine information, if you will. It wasn't divine information. It's because of the ties that they've had. But go ahead, hit *6. Come on in. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Come on in. I'd love to hear what you.
Yeah, I want to bring up about the ban on Jehovah's Witnesses.
I don't know. Rick asked me to give you the floor. Sorry. I have an opinion, Gail.
Go ahead. We're open tonight. It's an open show. In fact, I was going to ask you earlier, you said, your family went through a lot, and I was going to ask you how much of that you were willing to share. So go ahead. Are you there? Okay, let me look at the comments. Are you there? Is this Mia or Nancy?
Oh, I had you on speaker. Let me change that.
Oh, okay.
All right, I think we're good. The thing that I wanted to say about the music is I don't know. I think that a lot of times when people leave the Watchtower, they are turned off by religion. So they don't see that they're not going to recognize the trend in Christian music. But to me, it sounded pretty normal for what's going on in the like non-denominational, at least, communities.
Interesting. Okay, that's a good take on it. Gigi for GB said in the comments that it sounded like Disney. Like a Disney song, yeah. They look like Disney kids too.
That's a very good comment. Yes.
Yeah.
And we all know what's happening with Disney. Disney is getting exposed.
True.
So,
yeah.
And as is Watchtower, as are a lot of church organizations. I have a pretty large Facebook group, a number of them.
Okay.
I have more and more Jehovah's Witnesses, active Jehovah's Witnesses, coming into the group and saying, we just want to know more about what is really happening. They recognize it.
That's encouraging. Is it a private group that you have? Can you share the name of the group with us?
Rick and I are both involved with No Nonsense.
Okay.
And I have Jehovah's Witnesses Then and Now, and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses Dig Deeper.
That's encouraging. That's encouraging because a lot of them, yeah, they're usually on Reddit or, a lot of them are afraid to speak up.
Big screens. So, yes, there's lots of places open for Jehovah's Witnesses to come in and ask questions, and they are.
Yeah. So the fear is not having the same grip on them as it used to, is what I'm saying. So it's almost like your leaders will think you're getting sloppy. Like, why can't you control, the amount of people that are leaving, we're going to take over kind of thing. And that's honestly what I see coming for them. I don't know when, I don't know how, but the protection that they're so used to being used to over decades, I think that's going to be coming to an end soon. I could be wrong.
It's a, Rick and I, and I was gone way before Rick was. So, but we've always kept the door open to answer questions. So,
Yeah, we are thankful for YouTube.
it's a lot easier now to get out.
Yeah, it is.
You can do it. There are graceful ways to do it, and then that's what Richard and I were. There was no graceful way to leave. Barbara Anderson has said that. You had to literally force yourself into disassociation or disfellowshipping.
Yeah. And I find the fear factor is not so much there either. Like this week, I think I saw like 4 new SJW videos, 4 new people, and they're putting out their first video. And as I listened to them, they just didn't have the fear about leaving. What if I'm making the wrong decision? Where am I going to go? That fear is lifting off of people now. And Watchtower's losing their power. They're losing their grip. They're losing their power.
Another point is about taking advantage of the disability, people with disabilities Watchtower is doing.
Oh, I'm not aware of that one.
Sign language, because they now have a sub-Bethel branch remote translation office in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
I wonder if that's under the Watchtower Society of Florida. I'm telling you, that was a new one for me.
That too. They closed down Jamaica and the Bahamas Bethel branches, and they forced it to send to the U.S. Bethel branch. Russia used to have a Bethel branch at that time, but in 2017, because of the ban, they were forced to close their doors, and they weren't allowed to merge with another nation, another country branch.
Oh, wow.
Ukraine.
You guys remember that famous video that they used with the the police officers swarming into the Kingdom Hall or a building? You remember that one, right? We saw that video being used for another purpose. I don't know if it was a movie or something, but it was like a stock video. So you talking about the lies that, the JW lies, there was another one. That video was a lie. Allegedly. Because I've seen it used for other purposes and not.
Wondering to me.
I think there's a delay in the phone. Can you repeat that, please?
Lloyd Evans made a video about the ban, and he made the other ex-JWs look bad into supporting the ban, supporting the persecution, which that is not true. No Jehovah's Witness deserves to be persecuted.
Yeah, the community was pretty split on that. Some were in favor of it, some were not.
Japan?
Yeah, I was talking about the ban of Jehovah's Witnesses in Russia. The video made by Lloyd Evans.
Right.
He made a comment about that.
But are you aware that they also banned other cults?
No, I didn't.
No. In Russia, they also banned the Adventists. They banned the Mormons. They banned. Trying to think of who they are. Tom Cruise. That messed down there. Scientology.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just Jehovah's Witnesses. It was anything that is not their homeland religion, which they have their own. It's a form of Catholicism.
Orthodox.
Yes. So, but Jehovah's Witnesses were not alone targeted. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. There are other religions that practice shunning and some of the other high control. There are other high control religions, but this one's up there as far as the danger factor. And only a Jehovah's Witness will understand that, or a former Jehovah's Witness will understand that.
Anyone who's read Crisis of Conscience is fully aware of what happened in Malawi.
Yes.
And that was strictly a ploy to make Jehovah's Witnesses feel like we were Jehovah's people because we were the only ones getting persecuted.
Yeah.
Another lie.
I guarantee you somebody's hearing that for the very first time tonight. So.
Yeah, Mexico is another factor. The brothers there back then, they felt conceited. They wrote to Watchtower and asked questions about what to do about the military cartilla card.
Yeah. Joining the draft, or at least doing the training. Some of them were paying the officers under the table to say that they were present.
Right.
While a few years earlier, you were being murdered for not having a 25-cent card. It's just sickening. And so, but I'm glad we're out. I think Gilbert wanted to say something. He wants to go back to the music. So, Gilbert, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay.
You ever heard that song? That's a good song.
Where's that from?
And I think I put it right there. If you just Google YouTube search Jehovah's Witnesses 143rd Gilead graduation song.
Oh,
a lot of times you see these songs, they sound like Walt Disney songs, and it makes you wonder, like, are they, hiring each other, there's nothing wrong with it. But you know what? Carrie Lake here in Arizona, she's running for governor, and she said something that she was being interviewed, and they were talking to her, and she was saying how now that she's in her 50s, she reads the Bible, she, it's just changed her life, it's just, and she changed churches, and she went to a church, kind of like one of those mega churches, and she was talking about how if we give the greatest musicians and we get the greatest lighting show, and we do all of this stuff just for regular concerts, why can't we do that in at church and give it to God? And I thought that was very, very interesting. And because I remember how Jehovah's Witnesses, the reason we didn't sing like in choir, the reason we didn't have bands,
mm-hmm.
is because that's what they call worship. And we actually, if you think about it, we never ever as Jehovah's Witnesses worship, because there's two different. If you go outside of the Kingdom Hall, you find out that there's a worship service where it's just song and dance and praise, and then there's also like the sermon where you sit down, you take notes, and someone's going to teach you something. Well, Watchtower never had a worship service, so as a Jehovah's Witness, you never understood.
That's not true, Gilbert.
Yeah. Now
that's not true.
Well,
that is not true.
We never had work.
My mother, in your lifetime,
in our lifetime, yeah.
I'm almost 70 years old. I'm a little older than you are. And I can tell you that my mother played the piano.
Correct. Well, I could tell you
And
that.
the person who brought her in the truth played the violin and a lot of those original songs. Now, the new generation of Jehovah's Witnesses, everything is electronic and different.
But you see, in the 70s, when I was going to the meetings in the 70s, there was a piano at the Kingdom Hall, but nobody ever used it. Only for the wedding reception, wedding procession. But here's the point: they did it on purpose because it was never a worship service. And if you now that you're a lot older and you read the Bible, like say in the days of Moses, they actually had worship, which means everybody was going to go. They brought food. They brought, and they were going to dance and they were going to sing. It wasn't actual worship. And Jehovah's Witnesses, all of their music is stale. It's like stale bread. It's all the same. Every single song in the songbook, even though they might be nice, they're all 3 minutes long, and they all have the same monotone. You know, everything. Yeah. Well, come on. I was Jehovah's Witness.
I wouldn't recognize it. I wouldn't recognize the religion today.
Correct. So, but the point is I'm telling you that by design, the leadership of the religion did not want you to worship because when you start worshiping and you start dancing and you start singing and you become part of a band and choir, guess what? That actually empowers you. You actually get a little bit of power. You get a little bit of knowledge, and it becomes addictive. And then Watchtower is going to say, no. You can't go to school and learn more of this stuff. You can't go to school to learn to be a music teacher. You know, you need to stay, and so they kept everything on a dumbed down level.
Yeah.
And then also, we never really understood what worship was. If you were Jehovah's Witness, you never worshipped with music and dance and song like they did in the first century Christians. They didn't do that.
No, they didn't.
And we always thought that like the opening song that would count as worship. Well, they said it was worship, right? The opening song and then the middle song and then the ending song.
But you see, it's not worship is when you and I get together and there's going to be food, there's going to be a party atmosphere, and everyone's going to be singing hallelujah, hallelujah. You see, that's worship. Everybody is participating.
And you know what else there is?
Yeah.
Sincere prayer.
Yeah. It's everything. See,
they don't. Everything is orchestrated.
Yes.
That's the point.
Now, remember when we were growing up, Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story. Now you understand why it's so stale bread. They kept
Our audience may not know who Paul Harvey is.
Yeah, but they can look it up. But the point is that we were trained to be stupid when it comes to these matters. And you thought you were worshiping, but you didn't know what worship was. And when you were reading the Bible about Moses and King David and everybody else, you never associated it with a very happy, joyous atmosphere that lasted the whole day. I'll give you an example. In Mexico, when we have weddings, the weddings will start like on a Friday and continue on Saturday and even Sunday. I mean, and it's just like a whole 3-4 day affair. You know, I remember when I was growing up, as a kid, my parents would go to Mexico and in the morning and the news was going. And that's kind of like what it was in the biblical times when they actually did worship every, like in the harvest times. It was a joyous occasion, and it resembles nothing like the Jehovah's Witness religion today, or we grew up.
I know what you mean, Gilbert. When I visited a church for the first time, like the worship session was 30 minutes long. It was very emotional, even though I don't go anymore. But yeah, I remember my first experience with worship. It is quite different.
Correct. Now, when I go worship, this is what I do. I type in Mahalia Jackson, and I listen to her sing How I Got Over, or Just a Closer Walk with Thee, and she just rocks the house. Or Joshua Nelson when he's singing How I Got Over, and the whole church of say 10,000 people are just on their feet jumping up and down. Or listen to Willie Banks and say, God has been good to me. And there's just everyone is on their feet clapping and putting their hands in the air. That's worship. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to, a lot of people just go to worship services, and guess what they do? Then they go home. But they donate because they know that these people, are actually, participating. They're actually, working. This is their part-time job, and they deserve, people donate. But they understand the value of it. And all I'm saying when it goes back to music is that Watchtower's music is so stale. Listen to Elvis Presley sing gospel music, and listen to Watchtower's Kingdom Melodies. Listen to Michael Jackson and listen to Watchtower. And this is the other thing about music I wanted to say. If
there's no heart in it. There's no heart, Gilbert.
Correct. But let me tell you one other thing, and this is where Watchtower has it wrong. If God were to come down to earth, he would have said, and Jesus was showing him around, and he would say, let me hear what the Black Americans are singing. Jesus would take him to Detroit. He would take him to the South, and he would hear the soul music. But then God would say, well, what about our Mexican brothers, our children? And then he would hear the mariachis. And then if you go to Russia, he would hear something different. Mm-hmm. And then he goes, to Israel. But see, that's what God wants. God wants all of us to be different and unique. Whereas Watchtower, in all of the lands, in all of the 200 countries, they all sing the stale bread music. But I'm telling you, that's not, when you think about it, God does not want to go to Mexico and hear a bunch of New York songs. He wants to hear the mariachi play. And when God goes to the South, he wants to hear the Southern music. And when he goes to New Orleans, he wants to hear the Creole music. But Watchtower doesn't do that. They strip all of us. They strip everybody of their heritage. They strip everybody of their.
They do.
And they strip you of your culture. And this is how they control you, because now you don't have a language, you don't have a culture, and then they say, well, you're not an American, you're not Mexican, you're God's people. You hear that all the time. So they strip. So now when you leave Watchtower, you're naked. You don't have a country, you don't have a culture, you don't speak the language, because you used to speak the Jehovah's Witness talk. You literally set you up for failure.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because we thought that was so unifying. Oh, wow, I can go to Mexico on vacation or to Paris, France, and we're using the same books. We thought that was unifying, but the way you just broke it down, shows it makes us easier to be controlled. Very interesting.
And this is what I say. If you're black in America, you should be highly offended that they're trying to take away your culture. And if you're Mexican in Mexico, you should say, what? No, in Mexico we play the mariachi. This is how we praise God. You see, you should be offended in whatever language and whatever culture you're from. You should be offended that they took that away from you.
Yeah. Wow.
They took your history.
And do you remember when they used to say, they used to kind of, unless you were from a certain country, they used to kind of take us from, they would make you, I'm not too sure how I really want to word it, but anyway, they didn't really want you dressing up in that culture. Unless you were from that culture, they would try to talk us out of doing it unless you were actually from that culture. So if I wasn't necessarily from Africa, then I really shouldn't be wearing like the African garb to the Kingdom Hall. That was back in the day. I remember that, at least at the Kingdom Hall I went to.
I have a question.
Say that.
I have a question for you guys. Do they not have international assemblies anymore?
think the last one was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Remember they had international assemblies they used to parade?
Correct.
Yeah, they did.
And they used to, and the people from foreign countries were encouraged, dress in your native clothing.
Mm.
Do they not do that anymore?
No,
They
because
did
they don't
a
have to
couple of years ago, didn't they?
But it was all show when you think about it. It is show because they really don't dress that way. It's just it's show.
But you remember when they did?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because I went to a few. I went to quite a few international conventions.
But they don't do that any longer.
Not since the pandemic. I haven't heard of any. But yeah, one of my favorite groups is For King and Country, and Delon and I got to go to a concert. Now that was really something, and it was interesting because it was in the arena where the circuit assemblies used to be, and it was a totally, not the circuit assembly, the district. It was a totally different atmosphere, like 10,000 people just singing along. That was really interesting for King and Country. Remember that, Delon?
Oh yeah, oh my goodness, we had so much fun tonight. That night, the energy was on fire, totally different from what we would experience at the Kingdom Hall. I love singing my praises, and Gil and I mean, the house was coming down. We definitely had fun, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be, we're right at an hour. I want to stop it here for tonight. It was a very short show. Thank you for chiming in. Thank you for being here again. We'll see you in 2 weeks, but I always like to end with words of encouragement. And this week, what I want to say is stop being ashamed of how many times you've fallen, but be proud of how many times you got back up. It's just not worth the guilt. So you are worthy, you are loved. Thank you for being here on another episode of After the Storm. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. And stay tuned for Linda Aposta Babe with Healing After the Watchtower. Good night, everybody.
Wow. Thank you, Gail, for coming in tonight and doing your program. We really appreciate it. And we're glad that you could come on and do it. We do have a